Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Chameleon by Zoe Kalo, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. Puerto Rico, 1973. Oak trees dripping with Spanish moss embraced us from both sides, but not enough to shield us from the prison that would be my home for the next 7 months. The high stone walls and neo-Gothic bell tower loomed over us as my stepfather drove his Mercedes through the spiked iron gates and into the sloping, curving driveway. A spider of dread crawled up my back. Prison, indeed. I couldn't believe it had come to this, the way things had blown out of proportion. I'd only wanted to contact my dead father, ask his forgiveness. My mother reached for my hand from the front seat without turning around to look at me. I stared at her perfectly polished red nails and the glittery square-cut emerald on her ring finger. Her fingers flicked, silently pleading for my attention, but I was frozen inside. Her hand retreated. I stared at the convent, my eyes studying the pointed arched windows, the worn, age-blackened stones. The place looked haunted. Perfect for my state of mind. What was my mother thinking? Something moved behind one of the windows, a face. For an instant, my pulse raced at the sheer paleness of it, at the 2 dark holes that made up its eyes. "What are you looking at?" Sarah, my 6-year-old half-sister, asked. I pointed. A girl. She followed my line of vision. "Where?" "There, high up, in the window." She dipped her head so she could have a better look. I don't see anything." I felt a shiver, but not from the cold. "It's white. It's watching us." Then the car moved too close to the building and the face vanished from view. "Is this your new school, Paloma?" Sarah asked. I nodded. Sarah was the child, female version of my stepfather. Her bottomless dark eyes, framed by velvety lashes, stared at me with misery. "I don't like it," she whispered, grabbing my hand. "It'll be okay," I whispered back and gave her hand a little squeeze. "You promise?" "I promise." "Well, here we are," Domenico said in his strong Castilian accent, stopping the car in front of the entrance. He climbed out and opened the door for my mother. Then he proceeded to take out my suitcases from the trunk. My mother was silent. She stepped out like a wooden mannequin, her eyes shimmery with unshed tears. I climbed out, followed by Sarah, the gravel crunching under our shoes. The early morning air was cool, and a blanket of mist still lingered. Not surprising, since the convent was on the outskirts of El Yunque, the island's rainforest. More Spanish moss hung from the oak trees and rippled in the blunt breeze like long, shivering memories. I could smell the dew on the leaves and the rich perfume of moist earth redolent of open graves. I glanced at the ominous clouds. Beautiful morning. An ongoing distant hum resonated all around us. 1, 2 beats passed before it struck me. Waterfall. Something within me shut down or exploded. I couldn't be sure. I shut my eyes for a second, wiping out memories of chilled water searing my lungs. I repeated the 8th multiplication table in my head. This always helped. "After you," Domenico said, interrupting my thoughts. I wanted to loathe him. Tried to, anyway. I could see what my mother saw in him. A powerfully charismatic, handsome man with the infinite skill to make people do his bidding. My mother, with her small, delicate features and petite frame, looked invisible beside him, a mere specter. But that was just a facade. I knew better. The big oak door opened, and a nun clad in black habit and a wimple came down the steps to greet us. Sarah wrapped her arms around my waist. Her gesture both comforted me and heightened my anxiety. Nuns in habit made me think of great black birds. "Bienvenidos," the nun said. Like my stepfather, she also had a Castilian accent. "I'm Madre Estela, and I'm second in charge to Madre Superioria. You must be Senor and Senora de Aznar." They exchanged small talk. Madre Estela sounded polite enough, but she didn't offer to shake hands with my parents, which I found strange. Maybe nuns weren't allowed to shake hands. I wouldn't be surprised. I noticed the wedding band on her ring finger. Married to God. Absurd. You must be Paloma, she said tonelessly. Yes, I said. Wasn't it obvious? I didn't know what else to say. The cross on her chest caught my attention. It had a crucified Christ on it, and I noticed the thorns cutting Christ's forehead, the little drops of blood glistening on his fragile body. Welcome to our school, Paloma. Her critical gaze scrutinized my makeup, my tight jeans. I've heard much about you. I didn't miss the hint of cold disapproval in her voice. I wasn't sure how much my parents had complained about my behavior, but considering I had been kicked out, well, actually kindly asked to leave from my previous school in the middle of October, it couldn't be good. Are you ready to resume your senior year of high school? Stress on resume. I can't wait, I said. There was no point in being nice or pretending to be. That just wasn't me. I felt miserable and couldn't hide it. Besides, I could tell from our short exchange that she'd made up her mind not to like me long before meeting me, and I had the sinking feeling that no matter what I said or did, her opinion wouldn't change. I had already been stamped in her inquisition book, tagged a criminal. Madre Estella's stony eyes moved to Sarah. My little sister's arms clutched my waist even tighter. From the nun's expression, I could tell she was wondering if I had infected Sarah with whatever plague ailed me. She dismissed us and turned back to my mother and stepfather. Madre Superiora is expecting you in her office. Let's not keep her waiting. Don't concern yourselves with the suitcases. Someone will come for them shortly. They thanked her and followed her up the steps. I don't want to go in, Sarah said. It'll be okay, I said. I glanced at the window. I wanted to see the pale face again, but there was nothing. A drop of rain hit my cheek, and I wiped it off. Then I held Sarah's hand, and together we walked up the steps and through the arched doorway. I felt my throat closing up. 7 months. 7 months wasn't that long, was it? Besides, Thanksgiving break was just around the corner, 6 weeks to be exact. I'd already marked it on my calendar. I couldn't wait. I would go through the motions, no need to make friends that I'd never see again. When you get close to people, you end up getting hurt.